So this is the Electronics Today International, July 1978, and the front page is the single board synthesizer, the Transcendent 2000 from Powertran Electronics. So this is not mine, and in fact it's only stopping here temporarily on a journey abroad, and the owners very kindly allowed me to use it in a bit of photography, and hopefully you'll be interested to see the machine. It isn't the first one that's come through my hands, and I've got some shots from inside another one. I probably won't strip this one apart now because you've got to take every one of the knobs and dials off. I'll leave that for the man who got to repair it. But something you don't see every day is a 1978 synthesizer. Well, I better stop that before we get a copyright strike on YouTube. I will put all the links in the text on the video, so you can take a look at the albums and the sites yourself. For those who don't know, the Transcendent 2000 is associated with the band Joy Division, and was certainly used on their album Closer from 1980. You can find obviously a really good Wikipedia article on them that covers some of the key points in their life, including the very sad passing of their vocalist Ian Curtis just before the release of the album. I also found a really good video as well on the story of Joy Division, actually called Closer. And you can, this postpunk.com have got an article on them about the studio session for recording Closer. Although they don't credit it, in the photograph of Summer and Hannah recording, there is, they mention the ARP Omni 2, but you can see quite clearly the Transcendent 2000 is actually in use. So I thoroughly encourage you to take a look at these. The remnants of the band went on to form New Order, which probably defined the early part of the music scene of the 1980s. So we've got a pretty useful and interesting background to why this Transcendent 2000 is of interest, and let's take a look at the magazine and the unit itself. So let's take a closer look at the magazine first. Shall we see what was about in that time? Stereo amp offer, that was the, like I said, I've said before, that was one of the ones I built, I think. So we've got the Transcendent advertised on the front, £186.50 plus VAT from Powertran Electronics. What have we got in here? Designing oscillators. Let's have a little look. So lots of the classic adverts. We love these, don't we? So actually, let's adjust the camera so you can see it better. On the BiPAC stuff. In the news, we got the at the third stroke, the telephone counter. So ETI did one themselves, and this is a commercial one that sits under your telephone. And basically gives you a record of how much you've done in the way of phoning. Remember that, when the unit calls could be done. Marshalls and Watford. Electronic notebook, interesting. LC386. New Panasonic's new lithium cell, 5p. So lots of things happening. So a portable workbench so you can move around. What's this one? Transducers, ultrasonic transducer. This is an interesting one. This is the advanced micro devices. The pirate chip problem has been around for many years. So this was actually some renamed devices from AMD. This is the other one that's interesting as well. I think we covered this before. The SEMP microcomputer system from IES, and they've basically got about 5 double displays on it, little bubble displays on it, and a little keypad that allows you to display all the registered contents. Interesting. Electronics Tomorrow with the R2D2 on it. This one, how do you plan? So designing oscillators, all sorts of different oscillator circuits. Triangle, CMOS oscillator, TTL, voltage controlled. Master tone generator using AY18212. Temperature meter project. VFETs for everyone. Okay, cool. Yeah, there was always good technical content in these magazines, wasn't there? Torch finder, probably Greenmelt Electronics. Torch finder, it just has a green LED on it, so which is low consumption, so just on permanently. Brains and computers, is the brain a computer? Neurons, and the amps that I built. So I'm fairly certain I had that digital alarm clock. So I'm gonna have a Hanimex white one. And here we've got the synthesizer, which we'll take a little look at it. We've got the system block diagram of it, which is basically how each of the bits hang together. We'll take another look at that closer maybe afterwards. And then each bit, the PSU, the voltage controlled oscillator, the envelope circuitry ADSR, voltage controlled filters, what does what and where. So basically how each part of the thing works as you do it, how the slow and oscillator and the noise generator work, generally how it all works, description and the keyboard control. Completely, so they don't give a PCB layout obviously. Kits will only be available from Powertran, as will the PCBs, based on a single board construction, which they point out simplifies the wiring because all the switches and pots fit onto the PCB, which is handy. They all mount on there. So what's coming up next month, the oscilloscope offer. I think this might have been the one we actually took up. It was about then we got an oscilloscope, I think. Data sheets, and we got for the 2102 static RAM and the 2112 RAM, the 2107 dynamic RAM, and a 5204 erasable PROM. They were handy. So it's still called erasable PROMs then, which got Z-PROM. Shortened. Chiltmead, XY plotter, books, microfile. This is a interesting little machine. I've not really come across it. This is the Micros machine, Micronics, with 399 assembled and 360 in kit form. So they dropped it from 550. It's a Z80, 1K monitor, 2K RAM, 47K keyboard, serial I/O, 2 parallel output ports, and a UHF output on a domestic TV. Sounds like a description of NASCOM 1. You're right, the main output difference is that the Micros is cased and includes a PSU. So there you go. Competitor, not something I've seen around, so NASCOM. One of the book service, UFO detector. Apparently this one uses two magnetic detectors, one which basically looks at the compass needle for doing, the other one is sort of changes in the coil, so is based on the magnetic disturbance. Big popular. They do say, they don't say whether it is or isn't. Some prices on it. The games, plug into the future, plug-in colour TV game kits. Brilliant. Colour ones now, not backlight. Nicely a Siegler. And an M6800 with their terminal as well, SW Southwest Technical Products. The race for the bomb, I'm starting the nuclear bomb. What else we got? Seminar report. This is the 700 delegates petting for beginners, the ETI Commodore show. It's quite an interesting one actually. There's a little bit here. John Miller Kirkpatrick, obviously of the Scrumpy fame, so gave a talk on interfacing based on his Scrumpy work, and a draw for Kim Won the Pet, and there were 4 Scrumpies in the ETI Marshall. There we go. Excellent. And there is actually that photo of John Miller Kirkpatrick explaining the dislikes of Scrumpy. Commodore show, but he took it along. Of course, it is an industrial board, really, isn't it? So, and of course, his article on Electronics Tomorrow, which this month is about he's envious in a position of knowing someone who knows the director of a company that's going to have a view data terminal. He's trying to work out what it's going to be like in terms of view data and how it's going to work. It's still practically unknown then. ETI cert, and of course the classic tech tips in the back then. Yeah, so a couple of them. Classified ads, and the smaller ads, chest burster, ETI tank battle. I've had a Pong one for a long time. Those hobby pack stickers to stick on top of your chips for the pinouts. I think this is the one here. This little clock here is it's a little like in a white case, but I'm sure it was by HanemX or something like that. Electric LED clock, and of course the back page is owned by Science of Cambridge with their MK14 kit for £39.95. And Maplin's on the back. So that's Electronics Today International, July 1978. Let's have a little look at the Transcendent itself, shall we? The different controls, there's various different mix of log and linear pots underneath. Some slide switches for options in terms of each part of the system. It's quite cleverly laid out, but obviously it's interconnected inside unlike a modular one. Quite a nice keyboard mechanism. We'll have a little look inside one, hopefully as an insert in a minute. Yep, all seems to be lovely. So just let you admire it really. It's quite an impressive looking synth in the classic black and silver. Now the back contains all of the connectors for connecting it up, which if we turn it around gently, gives you a slightly different view of the machine. And we can take a look up at this, and the outputs are this is some sort of external wiring. There isn't in the original design. It's a power in switch. They're high and low out. That's interesting. I haven't seen that on the other one. The foot pedal connector, and these two are where the transformer's mounted on this model. We've also seen it mounted over there. Slightly different one. So metal. Someone's undone these couple of screws on the bottom at some point. In fact, there's only two nuts on by the looks of it. Yeah, 3. So they're coming loose. Okay. Yeah, you probably can't see that, but those nuts are a little bit loose. I think they're actually mounting something internally. They're not the way you get into it. No, we'll have to look at that, but the way you get into it is these screws here, which basically lift the front. Once you've taken all of the grub screws out, you can lift the front panel out and see inside. So let's take a look inside a similar one to this, shall we? So just a few screws and it removes the panel, so you can see the actual back of this PCB, and the inside has got the sockets and connectors and is screwed on, and everything seems to be, it's quite a small transformer though, so, but everything seems to be firmly connected. So the top of the unit fits quite well, so you're fine. And it's just these 4 bolts which were securely fitted, actually holding it down in the corners. Now this is actually the filter sweep pedal, which plugs into the back of the Transcendent. Well, this plug's going to need a bit of a clean up, but basically is quite a nice action. So you can see there's like a ratchet mechanism that drives the pot there. So as you go down, it brings the pot, which seems to be a single pot there mounted on the inside. So quite a nice construction. Nice looking pedal actually. Oh, it's been stuck over the back of something else. We shall let the owner find out what maybe that was based on then. There's obviously a sticker stuck on it. Something under there, mysterious. I resist the temptation to pull it off. Now I'm sure you want to hear a Transcendent 2000. Unfortunately, my musical skills are almost non-existent. You may have, observant of you may have noticed that the fanfare that was played at the Welsh Wizards intro was actually a Spectrum Beep sequence, the one we used on all the Gilsoft software. Put together by me early on, and I think prior to that, in the ZX81 video, I did mention an attic find I had of one of my early projects, which is a 555 based synthesizer of the ZX81IO. If not, I'll stick a photo of it in here. Well, will do anyway. Which is a video we can look forward to. I'll get that running again with an IO board on the ZX81. I did sort of learn piano in my 20s. I was given a John Broadwood piano, and a friend of mine started teaching me, but it was slightly out of tune, needed a bit of work, and of course, being an engineering background, I launched wholesale into working out how to level the keyboard and get the thing apart and do the felts and different shims and get it all sorted out. And then I moved to Spain and didn't really use it, so it was sold onwards to fund the fuel, I think, for a return trip to Spain at one time. So I wouldn't be able to play one even if those did work. Look, Mum No Computer, the museum site has a Transcendent 2000 mounted on the wall, and there's a couple of video clips where he plays it. I'll provide you some links to and insert a little bit of the video here. But hopefully we can look forward to maybe some audio from them when they've been repaired by their owner, and maybe he'll give me a bit of a feedback. We do an update video on the successful repair. So a classic 1970 device, given away of course by the exact number of inches used as the centres between the potentiometers. As it happens, before I shipped the unit, I was asked to take a look at whether I could preserve the bottom of the keyboard in a better fashion, so I was investigating ways to pack it. So I was able to remove the bottom to just take a look at the arrangements inside. So I did get some photographs before I sent it off of this one. As you can see, there's already like a metal reinforcement plate over the key switches, which means they're not as vulnerable to damage in shipping as the as other ones may be. So I was able to get this packed up and sent off. But I did take some video of the insides as well, which we'll take a look at quickly now. But it is really nicely constructed there inside compared to the other one. Now, this is the inside of the unit. I actually did take the base off of those little screws in order to try and preserve the keyboard better on this ship, because apparently these little these little wire pins that are on the keys, as you press a key, you hopefully can see how they work. They apparently get terribly bent and mangled because they're only glued on plastic, but this one actually looks like it's quite well put together. So obviously there's a connector there on the end. We've got the power, slightly different power layout, and so not sure what that plate's for, but it's quite different, I think. So lovely done actually, with a proper crimped wire set, very high quality build. Not sure what that unit is on the end. That's to do with the serial connect that we seem to have. So very interesting little extra board, and goes off to that cable loom there by the looks of it, down to the transformer. So it doesn't look like the keypad. Oops, sorry, it doesn't look like the keypad is actually connected to anything. So I'm not sure whatever that wire loom is. So interesting. That's the inside of the Transcendent 2000. The owner was also lucky enough to pick up the actual kit information that came with the system, covered copies, a reprint of the article plus some extra pages, which he'll hopefully be able to preserve. Which, because there's in there is some things like layouts for getting particular layouts of the music and things like that. So that's going to be a fascinating bit of energy for him. The surprising thing was, of course, is that unit, I packed it up quite securely in an old box, and it flew to the United States of America quite well. I did put a proper address label on it, because this is the previous one for delivery to me. But it never got there. Well, it did. It landed in America and then flew over his head, and we had a message that it was landing in Australia. I absolutely couldn't believe it. And it did take quite some time then before it actually shipped back out into the US again for actual onwards delivery. But it did finally arrive. So it has, and the first one has actually been repaired. So I've got a little video to share with you as well now of the previous unit being in a functional state. So something nice to finish the video on, maybe.
Well, this wasn't easy. Broken switch, broken switch, broken switch. Yet to fix.
I'm Tim Gilbert, and this is my channel on retro computing.